What if there was a library? Not a library of books, a library of everything. Every thought you ever had, every choice you ever made, every life you ever lived, every moment of every soul that has ever existed, recorded, preserved, accessible. Ancient philosophers called it the memory of the universe. Modern mystics call it the Akashic Records. And what's fascinating is this: the greatest minds in human history, Plato, Pythagoras, Plotinus, all pointed to the same place. A field of infinite knowledge that exists beyond time and space, that remembers everything, that forgets nothing, and that you, right now, have access to. This is not science fiction. This is one of the oldest ideas in human philosophy. And today we are going to explore it fully, honestly, and openly. Let's begin. The word Akashic comes from the Sanskrit word Akasha, meaning sky, space, or ether. In ancient Indian philosophy, Akasha was considered the fifth element, beyond earth, water, fire, and air. It was the element of consciousness itself, the medium through which all experience travels, the fabric of awareness that underlies all of existence. Think of it like this: when you speak, sound waves travel through air. When light moves, it travels through space. But what does thought travel through? What is the medium of consciousness? Ancient philosophers said, Akasha, the field of pure awareness that permeates everything. And within this field, every experience, every thought, every soul's journey is recorded permanently, not like a hard drive, more like a living, breathing intelligence that remembers. This is the Akashic Records. Now, before you dismiss this as mysticism or fantasy, let me show you something remarkable. The ancient Greeks arrived at almost exactly the same idea, through pure philosophy, through reason alone. Plato, one of the greatest minds in human history, described what he called the world of forms, a realm beyond the physical world where perfect eternal patterns exist, not in space, not in time, but in a dimension of pure idea. Every chair you have ever seen is an imperfect reflection of the perfect form of chair that exists in this realm. Every act of justice reflects the perfect form of justice. Every beautiful thing points toward perfect beauty itself. Plato believed that before birth, every soul exists in this realm, knowing everything, experiencing the perfect forms directly. Birth is a forgetting, life is a remembering, and philosophy, the love of wisdom, is the process of recovering what the soul already knows. Sound familiar? This is strikingly close to what modern teachers of the Akashic Records describe, a field of knowledge that the soul can access, that contains the record of all experience, that remembers what the conscious mind forgets. Plato called it the world of forms. The Akashic tradition calls it the records. Different names, same extraordinary idea. Now let's go deeper. Pythagoras, the mathematician who lived 500 years before Plato, believed in something he called the harmony of the spheres. He observed that musical notes follow mathematical ratios, that the planets move in patterns that mirror those ratios, that the entire universe is fundamentally mathematical, ordered, patterned, intelligent. He believed that this mathematical order was not invented by humans. It was discovered. It existed before us. It will exist after us. It is woven into the fabric of reality itself. And more, he believed in the transmigration of souls, that the soul does not die with the body, that it carries memory forward from one life to the next, that you are not your body. You are a soul with a very long history. Where is that history stored? Where do those memories live between lives? Pythagoras pointed to the same place that the Akashic tradition describes, a field beyond the physical, a record that persists. a memory that the universe keeps even when we forget. Then comes Plotinus, the philosopher of the 3rd century AD who developed what we call Neoplatonism. Plotinus described a concept he called the One, an infinite, undivided source from which all existence flows. From the One flows nous, divine intelligence, the realm of all archetypes, all patterns, all knowledge. From nous flows the world's soul, the living intelligence that animates the universe. And from the world's soul flows individual souls, like us. Plotinus believed that every soul is connected to the world's soul, that we are never truly separate from the source, that within each of us is a thread that leads back to infinite intelligence, to the place where everything is known. This is not mysticism for Plotinus. This is rational philosophy. This is the logical conclusion of thinking carefully about what consciousness actually is. And when you read his description of nous, divine intelligence, it reads remarkably like a description of the Akashic Records, a field of infinite knowledge, connected to all souls, accessible through inner stillness, containing the patterns of all that was, is, and will be. So what does this mean for us? It means that the idea of the Akashic Records is not a New Age invention. It is one of the oldest and most consistent ideas in human philosophy. Across cultures, across centuries, across traditions, human beings have pointed to the same extraordinary possibility, that consciousness is not local, that awareness is not confined to the brain, that somewhere in the fabric of reality itself, everything is remembered. Now let's talk about what the records actually are, and how people describe experiencing them. Teachers and practitioners describe the Akashic Records as a dimension that exists outside of linear time, not past, present, or future, but all time simultaneously. Imagine standing in a library where every book is open at once, where you can read any page from any moment without moving. This is how many people describe the experience of accessing the records, a sense of timelessness, a feeling of profound peace, a knowing that arrives not as thought, but as direct experience. Not I am thinking about this, but I know this completely. The records are often described as having 3 qualities. First, they are completely non-judgmental. There is no shame in the records, no condemnation, no hierarchy of souls. Every experience, the beautiful and the painful, the noble and the shameful, is held with equal compassion. The way a loving parent holds the memory of a child's life, seeing it whole, understanding it deeply, judging none of it. Second, they are completely accurate, not filtered through the ego, not distorted by fear or desire, not shaped by what we wish had happened. The records hold what actually was, the truth beneath the story we tell ourselves. This is why accessing them can be both liberating and confronting. To see yourself clearly, without the defenses, is the most honest mirror there is. Third, they are completely loving. Whatever you find in the records, however difficult, however painful, it is held in love. Not the sentimental love of greeting cards, the deep, intelligent love that understands everything and condemns nothing. The love that Plato called the highest form, beauty itself, goodness itself, truth itself, unified. Now, how do people access them? There are many traditions and methods, but they share common elements. The first is stillness. Every tradition that describes accessing higher knowledge, from the Greek philosophers to the Indian mystics to the modern practitioners, points to the same door: inner stillness, the cessation of mental chatter, the quieting of the anxious, planning, judging mind. Not emptiness, presence, the deep, alert awareness that exists beneath thought. Plato called this the turning of the soul toward the light. The Indian tradition calls it meditation. Modern practitioners call it entering a receptive state. Different words, same practice. The mind becomes still, and in that stillness, something else can speak. The second is intention. You do not stumble into the records. You arrive with a question, a sincere desire to know, an openness to receive. The quality of your question shapes what you receive. A question asked from fear receives a fearful answer. A question asked from genuine curiosity, from a real desire to understand and grow, receives something deeper. This is why Plato said that philosophy must begin with wonder, not certainty. The student who arrives knowing everything learns nothing. The student who arrives in genuine wonder discovers everything. The third is trust. What arrives in stillness is often subtle, a sense, an image, a feeling, a word that appears from nowhere, a memory that suddenly carries new meaning. The untrained mind dismisses this. That was just my imagination. I made that up. That can't be right. The practice of accessing the records is partly the practice of learning to trust what arrives in stillness. Not blindly. Discernment matters, but with openness, with the willingness to sit with what comes before judging it. Marcus Aurelius, our beloved Stoic, described something similar in his Meditations. He wrote about turning inward, going to the ruler within. The part of you that sees clearly, that knows what is true, that is not swayed by fear or desire. He called it the hegemonikon, the governing faculty, the part of consciousness that perceives directly. What he was pointing to, and what the Akashic tradition points to, may be different expressions of the same inner reality, the place in you that already knows. Now let's talk about what people find when they access the records. The most common experience is a sense of deep recognition, not learning something new, but remembering something forgotten. I knew this. I have always known this. I just couldn't access it. This is exactly what Plato described. Learning as remembering, knowledge as recovery. People describe discovering, the patterns that run through their lives, the recurring themes, the lessons that keep returning in different forms, the gifts they brought into this life, the wounds they are healing, the connections between present difficulties and deeper patterns, understanding why certain situations keep repeating, what they are here to learn, what they are here to release, a sense of their soul's purpose, not a specific job title or life plan, but a quality of being, a way of contributing, a reason for being here that feels true and clear. And perhaps most powerfully, a sense of being loved, unconditionally, completely, without needing to earn it or deserve it. The records, practitioners say, are not a record of your failures. They are a record of your journey. Every mistake understood in context, every wound held with compassion, every choice, good or poor, seen as part of a larger unfolding. This is what Plotinus was pointing toward when he described the One, the source from which all flows and to which all returns. Not a judgmental God keeping score of your sins, an infinite intelligence that holds your entire existence with love. Now, you may be wondering, is any of this real? That is exactly the right question, and I want to answer it honestly. We cannot prove the Akashic Records the way we prove a mathematical theorem. We cannot measure them with scientific instruments. What we have is this: a consistent report across thousands of years, across dozens of cultures, from some of the most careful and intelligent minds in human history. That consciousness is larger than the brain. That knowledge can arrive through stillness and inner attention, that there is something, call it what you will, that exists beyond the personal mind and can be accessed. Plato experienced it. Plotinus experienced it. Mystics from every tradition experienced it. And millions of ordinary people today report experiences that point to the same place. Whether you call it the Akashic Records, the world of forms, the world soul, or simply your own deep intelligence, something is there, accessible in stillness, intelligent and loving, larger than your personal history, wiser than your anxious mind, and you have access to it, right now, not through a special technique, not through years of training, through the one thing that Epicurus, Plato, Marcus Aurelius, and every wisdom tradition agrees on: stillness, the willingness to stop, to sit quietly, to listen to what is already here. So here is your invitation. Today, just once, find 5 minutes of genuine stillness. Not scrolling, not planning, not replaying conversations, just sitting, breathing, being present, and ask, quietly, sincerely, what do I most need to know right now? Then listen, not with your thinking mind, with something deeper. What arrives, however faint, however unexpected, is worth paying attention to. The library is always open. The records have always been there. You were always allowed inside. You just had to get quiet enough to find the door. Ancient wisdom, modern minds, and you, exactly as you are more than enough to walk through it. Now let's talk about something practical. How do you actually begin? Not in theory, not someday. Right now, in your daily life. The ancient philosophers gave us a very clear answer, and it starts with something so simple it sounds almost disappointing. You sit down. That's it. You sit down. You close your eyes. You breathe. And you wait. Not impatiently. Not with an agenda. Not checking your phone every 30 seconds. You wait the way a fisherman waits. Alert, present, patient. Knowing something is there. Trusting it will come. Plato described this practice in his dialogue called the Phaedrus. He spoke of a kind of divine madness, a state where the ordinary mind steps aside and something larger moves through. Not insanity, not loss of control, the opposite, a deeper sanity, a clarity that arrives when the noise stops. He said the highest form of this was philosophical contemplation, turning the mind toward what is eternal and true rather than what is temporary and distracting. And what happens in that turning? The soul remembers. Here is a simple practice drawn from the philosophical tradition that you can begin today. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, close your eyes, take 3 slow breaths, deeper than usual. Let each exhale release a little more tension. Then say, silently or aloud, one simple sentence: I am open to what is true. Not, I want answers. Not, give me information. Just, I am open to what is true. This is the posture of the philosopher, the posture of the soul approaching the records. Openness, humility, presence. Then sit for 5 minutes. Notice what arrives. Not thoughts about your grocery list or tomorrow's meeting, though those will come too. Notice what arrives underneath those. A feeling, an image, a sense of something, a memory that surfaces unexpectedly, a word that repeats. Write it down afterward. Don't judge it. Don't analyze it immediately. Just record it. Over days and weeks, patterns will emerge, messages that return again and again, themes that run beneath the surface noise of daily life. This is the beginning of accessing the records, not dramatic, not mystical in the movie sense, quiet, patient, cumulative. The ancient philosophers did not have special powers. They had a practice, a daily commitment to stillness, a willingness to listen to what most people drown out with busyness and noise. Epicurus called this practice philosophical contemplation, one of the highest pleasures available to a human being. Not because it feels exciting, because it feels true. And there is nothing more satisfying than the feeling of truth, the feeling of encountering something real beneath the constructed surface of things. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning, before the demands of empire, before the letters and the decisions and the weight of ruling millions. He sat, he wrote, he listened. His meditations are the record of what he found there, not perfect wisdom, not divine revelation. A man talking honestly to himself, trying to remember what mattered, trying to hear the voice beneath the noise. That is available to you too, starting today, starting now, starting with 5 minutes and a willingness to be still. Now let's go deeper into the practice, because stillness is the door. But what do you do once you're inside? The Akashic tradition describes several ways that information arrives. The first is through feeling, not emotion in the dramatic sense, a subtle sense of resonance. When something is true, there is a feeling of settling, of things clicking into place, of yes, this is right. When something is not true, there is a subtle resistance, a feeling of wrongness that is hard to articulate but unmistakable once you learn to notice it. This is what the ancient philosophers called the criterion of truth, the inner faculty that recognizes what is real. Epicurus trusted this faculty deeply. He believed that sensation, properly understood, was the most reliable guide to truth, not the sensation of pleasure or pain alone, but the deeper sensation of recognition, the sense of encountering what actually is. The second way information arrives is through image, spontaneous images that arise in the quiet mind, not imagination in the sense of making things up, but images that arrive unbidden, that carry meaning, that feel significant in a way that is hard to explain. The Greek philosophers called this phantasia, appearance, the way the real world presents itself to the prepared mind. Plotinus wrote extensively about this. He believed that the higher realms communicate through image, that the soul's language is symbolic, not literal, a dream, a vision, a metaphor. These are not less real than words. They are often more real, more precise, more true. The third way is through knowing, sudden, direct, complete. You don't arrive at it through thinking. It simply arrives. One moment you don't know, the next, you do, completely, without doubt. This is what the mystical traditions call gnosis, direct knowing, not belief, not hope, not theory, knowing, the way you know your own name, the way you know you are breathing, immediate, undeniable, present. Plato described this as the highest form of knowledge, the direct apprehension of truth that bypasses the reasoning mind and arrives at the soul itself. It cannot be taught in the usual sense, but it can be cultivated through practice, through patience, through the willingness to sit in uncertainty long enough for certainty to arrive on its own terms. Now, there is something important I want to address. Many people who begin this practice worry that they are making things up, that what arrives in stillness is just their own imagination, their own wishes and fears dressed up as wisdom. This is a valid concern, and the ancient philosophers took it seriously. Plato warned about this. He distinguished between genuine philosophical insight, which leads toward truth, goodness, beauty, and mere fantasy, which leads toward confusion and self-deception. How do you tell the difference? He gave a simple test. Does what arrives make you more honest, more compassionate, more willing to face difficulty, more loving toward others? Or does it make you more special, more separate, more certain of your own superiority, more justified in your existing beliefs? Genuine wisdom humbles, it expands, it opens, it asks more of you, not less. Fantasy flatters, it confirms, it narrows, it tells you what you want to hear. This is the discernment that practice develops, not in a day, not in a week, over time, with honesty, with the willingness to be wrong. Epictetus, the former slave, was perhaps the most rigorous on this point. He said that the unexamined impression, the thought we accept without questioning, is the source of all human error. The practice, he said, is simple. Every thought that arrives, pause. Ask, is this true? Is this actually true? Or is it just familiar? This same discipline applies to what arrives in stillness. Hold it lightly. Test it against your life. See if it leads toward truth or away from it. The records are not infallible. Your access to them is filtered through your own mind, your hopes, your fears, your existing beliefs. Humility is not a weakness here. It is the most important tool you have. Approach with openness, receive with gratitude, discern with honesty, and always, always, let the fruit tell you whether the tree is good. And now, I want to give you something you can use tonight. A simple guided practice drawn from the philosophical tradition, not a technique borrowed from any specific teacher, just the essential elements that every wisdom tradition agrees on. Find a comfortable position. You can sit or lie down, whatever allows your body to be completely at ease. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath in, hold for a moment, and release completely. Again, breathe in slowly, hold, release. One more time. Breathe in, hold, and let go. Feel your body becoming heavy. Feel the tension in your shoulders releasing, the tightness in your jaw softening, the grip of your hands loosening. You don't need to hold anything right now. You don't need to figure anything out. You don't need to be anywhere other than exactly where you are. Just here, just this breath, just this moment. Now imagine, just as a gentle exercise of awareness, that beneath the thoughts in your mind, beneath the feelings in your body, beneath the story of your day, there is a stillness, not emptiness, a fullness, like deep water, quiet on the surface, vast and alive underneath. This stillness has always been here. It was here before you were born. It will be here after every thought you have today has dissolved and been forgotten. It is the part of you that simply is. Rest there for a moment, just being, not thinking, not doing, just being. Now, from this place of stillness, ask one question, not demanding, not grasping, just asking, gently, what do I most need to know right now? And then, listen, not with effort, with ease, like listening for a sound in a quiet room. You don't strain to hear it, you simply open and wait. Whatever arrives, a feeling, an image, a word, a sense of something, receive it without judgment. Don't analyze it yet, don't dismiss it, just receive it, like a gift being placed in open hands. Stay here as long as feels right, in this stillness, in this openness, in this ancient, eternal quiet that the philosophers pointed to across thousands of years. The library is open, the records are available, the part of you that knows is always present. You don't need to find it, you just need to stop moving away from it. When you are ready, take a slow breath. Feel the room around you, feel the weight of your body, and gently, in your own time, open your eyes. Whatever came to you, write it down, honor it, sit with it. You have just done what Plato did, what Marcus Aurelius did, what every philosopher and mystic who ever pointed toward the records was pointing toward. You turned inward. You listened. You allowed the deeper intelligence to speak. This is not a one-time practice. This is a way of living, a daily returning to the stillness, a daily listening to what knows, a daily practice of remembering who you actually are, beneath everything that has happened to you, everything you have been told about yourself, everything you have come to believe out of fear or habit or pain. You are a soul with a history longer than this life. You carry wisdom you have not yet fully claimed. You have access to a love so complete and so intelligent that it holds every moment of your existence with perfect understanding. The Akashic Records, whatever name you give them, are simply the word for that love's memory. And you, right now, in this moment, are remembered, completely, lovingly, forever. Ancient wisdom, modern minds, and you, exactly as you are more than enough. Sleep well.